Well, me dead, they actually did a good episode. Lower Decks episode 5 was actually good. It probably helps that they based the main story around my favourite character, Rutherford, and we got to see more of him, and we got to sort of see how he came to be. Now, I'll deal with the small story first, which is Mariner and Boilerman are being sent down to some planet. What was it? Tolgana 4 or something. They're basically manning the Starfleet booth, trying to get people to enroll in Starfleet. And of course, the assumption is that Mariner's going to get up to trouble, so Hanson basically threatens her and says, if you even step out of that booth, you're going to be sent to Starbase 80. So, okay, she actually manages to keep her cool and just take crap from people all day. And it's actually Boilerman's the one who cracks. And I know I say his name wrong, I don't care. Some lady, I can't remember what group she's from, she walks up and is like, oh, I love that uniform. If I join Starfleet, will I get a uniform like that? And he's like, well, of course. And she's like, oh, that idiot actually likes the uniforms. And she goes on about why they're always changing them if they're so good and blah, blah, blah. And he actually points out that only some classes of ship have that uniform, that the uniforms are not uniform over the whole fleet, which actually helps the show fit into canon, which is one of the things I respect about this show, is it does actually manage to fit into Star Trek canon, original series, classic, canon. Unlike some of the other shows that don't even try and expect us to just have no memory and not actually remember what we've seen or watched and just ignore things that are right in front of us. So it doesn't insult our intelligence on that level. She pulls off his rank pin and throws it onto the ground, and he loses his... And it's pretty funny. He just goes around telling all these organizations, putting them all in their place, so much as all they do is complain about Starfleet. And he just points out all the help they've given them, all the stuff that they basically wouldn't exist without Starfleet, and they should just, shut that up. So it goes on a bit, but it's pretty funny. And the idea that he just doesn't stop and keeps going, it's a bit, okay, but it is entertaining. And then he ends up being put in the brig for the night because Handsome shows up and sees it all. But they're actually okay with him defending Starfleet, so they just technically have to put him in the brig for the night, but they're actually proud of him. And there's another officer who, she was an officer, who's now working with a group of archaeologists, and she's trashing Starfleet the whole time. And she apparently was just trying to cause a problem so she could sneak off and steal some artifact from the Grand Nagus. I think it's his staff or something. And she does suggest that maybe you should come and join us once you get sick of Starfleet's uniformity and everything. I think you are destined for more, or you can do more, you're better than this. And she doesn't delete the message. I'm like, yes, leave. You do not fit in Starfleet. You do nothing but insult it, and just leave. Just go do something else, and let the Starfleet people who love Starfleet, create a show that actually, is Star Trek, and let the Star Trek fans enjoy it instead of you trashing it all the time, and the writers trashing Star Trek all the time through this character. So that was good. Now, the Rutherford story, basically, he was damaged in an accident, and that's why he has the implant. But when this was done, he must have been working on something secret, and the people who gave him the implant erased basically all the memories that involved these shady people, and that's why basically he's a whole different person. And he's a little simple. He's very much just focused on his work. He doesn't seem to have a lot of issues. That's because they were mostly erased. And what we find is that he actually was a bad boy once, and he actually broke all the rules, and that guy got himself killed, and they basically erased him. But part of his mind kept part of that person, and somehow Tindy messing around, erasing his cache, or whatever it's called, brings him out, and he takes over, and Rutherford is like, it's almost like the enemy within. And at first they thought it was a, what was it? I wrote it down, I can't see it in my notes. I can't even read my own writing, I give up. Basically, it wasn't what they thought it was that he basically had two identities stored, and there wasn't enough room in his mind for both. So they decide in this little world that he's created in his mind while he's in a coma to race for it. So Rutherford creates a Delta Flyer, the other guy creates another ship, and they race. And it's kind of weird because it's in their own imagination that Romulans attack, he gets hit. Rutherford hasn't just created the ship because they could do whatever they want. He created like his whole crew, and they help, they save him, but it's too late. He basically says, look, you win, and he symbolically dies, and Rutherford ends up inheriting the body basically, and he goes back and he wakes up, and Tindy's happy to see him, and he's now trying to work out who did this to him and what conspiracy is like underneath all this that he has to work out. And I don't know, it's interesting. And they did also suggest that the issues that he's had with his implant the whole time have been this other self trying to get out. So whether that was in the plan or whether they just wrote that in after the fact, I don't know. But it was a good episode. I actually enjoyed it, and the idea, the end gave me some hope that maybe Mariner will leave because she doesn't fit Starfleet, and I don't see her changing, and she just ruins it for everyone. Like she was just complaining the whole time, and she's like, "What am I supposed to do with this this task we've been given?" And he said, "I don't know, what, complain about it the whole time and make it worse for everyone?" And that's all she does. So I really, really, really hope the character goes somewhere else and is happier and just leaves the Starfleet crew to be happy to be a Starfleet crew, and then we can watch them being Starfleet and being Star Trek. That would be nice. That's me being super optimistic. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I'm surprised I like this one. I laughed at a few parts. I was totally invested in the character. Rutherford, I like him, and I'm not going to say I reacted emotionally to any scenes or anything because that no, but I did. So yeah. This gives me hope for the rest of the season and the rest of the series of this show. But I don't have anything else to say because there's nothing to complain about. Normally I complain for like 5 or 10 minutes on an episode because there's problems. There was no problems with this episode. And it was good and I enjoyed it. I'm as surprised as anyone else. I'm going to go. Thanks. Bye. Look, just before you go, I'm not done. And this is not a complaint. But just regarding the uniforms, the reason why it works for canon, it's not that it's a good explanation, but it's the fact they actually tried to explain it. They actually had enough respect for people like me who are very aware of the fact that this uniform doesn't fit in with the era that they're in, because I at first thought that they were a few years past the Nemesis era, but they're actually not. So the uniforms don't match. But they explained it. Why? Because they actually care about, I think they actually care about making this show fit in the Star Trek universe, and that does show some respect for the fans and the show itself. So I just wanted to point that out before I go.